Right then. Let's get on with it. Bubbles went straight up my nose. If I were to ever have any sort of conversation about the greatest movies of all time, I would say that the Dark Knight trilogy would probably be right up near the top of that list. If you've never seen the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't know who the fuck you are, what cave you've been living in, but can I hide in it through exams, please? But no, you sort of think about it, and the Dark Knight trilogy was so huge, especially with like Heath Ledger's death and everything to do with like the second film, The Dark Knight. Everything was just so well publicized. If you've never seen it, you've been living under a rock or purposely avoiding it. Maybe you just don't like DC, or maybe it's just not your sort of thing, which is fair enough. But I would say when it comes to almost perfect films, they would be right up there. They are almost perfect. I recently rewatched them, and I was never actually entirely sure before that if I was remembering them correctly, if they were actually like my favourite films, or if I was hideously wrong and they weren't ever as good as I thought they were, and they would never live up to my expectations ever again. But you know what? I rewatched them, and they lived up to my expectations quite nicely. I only ever had a couple of little niggling issues, but it was all quite good. For example, like my issues tended to be to do with like voices and stuff. Like everyone complains about Christian Bale's Batman voice, and it sounds like someone's gargling marbles. It's like it sounds like guttural vocals, right? It's only done that a couple of times. I'd say right towards the end of The Dark Knight, where he's sort of been had the crap beaten out of him by the Joker. It's like, it'll never happen. People are better than you think, or whatever the fuck the quote is. And yes, I'll give it to you. That does happen then. But for the rest of it, it's just kind of a gruff sort of voice. Like the voice is almost perfect in Batman Begins. Like listen to it. And it's just Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne voice, just a bit gruffer. And it works. And if you've ever seen, someone did a video, Christian Bale's Batman with Ben Affleck's voice modulator, or it's called something like that. If I remember, I'll link that down in the description below. That Batman would be the best Batman to ever exist, period, pretty much. There would be no argument for anyone else. You could try and argue for, Michael Keaton or George Clooney, but you'd almost certainly lose. Obviously, people have their personal issues with Christian Bale. They don't think he's, as good an actor, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I would argue against that and say he's actually a pretty good actor, but he's just a bit of an asshole, as most actors are. Okay, so quick sidetrack, but my ideal animated Batman cast would be Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. And that's all you need, because if you've heard Kevin Conroy's Batman voice, I know his Batman the Animated Series voice was slightly different, like his more modern Justice League Unlimited and everything, but his voice is just so good. And then Mark Hamill is a voice actor in himself and, Joker. So those two together would just make the best. If you ever had to do a full sort of radio play Batman thing, then just get those two in. You wouldn't need anyone else. I mean, yeah, sure. Oh, why don't you have a woman on set? But Mark Hamill does pretty decent woman. So fuck you. Anyway, I've finished digressing. Yeah, no. When you talk about the Dark Knight trilogy, you think of Batman Begins, and it was a little sort of slow, I guess, to begin with, but it was pretty much perfectly paced. They pronounced Ra's al Ghul's name right, which is fucking wonderful. That's I'm going to digress again real quick. Americans, it's Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's al Ghul. Where the fuck are you getting Ra's from? I have never heard any canon material referred to him as Ra's, unless it's, relatively new after people started saying Ra's al Ghul. Let's see, the Dark Knight trilogy calls him Ra's. Every, animated thing I've seen calls him Ra's. I mean, he's not in a lot because for some reason people don't like Ra's al Ghul in like the animated stuff. Like, he doesn't come up. It's really weird. I don't know why. I've never heard to anyone like in canon material. I've never heard anyone refer to him as Raish. It just does not compute for me where the fuck that came from. Like, I genuinely don't know. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, none at all. Just no. Like, why would you even think about, like, changing it that way? There's no H in that name. Anyway, like I said, I digress. So, yeah, Liam Neeson, very good choice for Ra's al Ghul, I would say. I would say he's pretty much perfect for him, so that's always nice. You've got some just really good casting. Like Alfred, Michael Caine, very well cast. It's pretty decent. Like, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox is a great choice. He's just, like, almost perfect. Like, legitimately. Almost perfect. Some really, really good casting. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Christian Bale, and then obviously people like not Christian Bale. Who the fuck am I thinking of? What was it? Liam Neeson. Jesus, why did that take me so long? Wow, I did not think that would take me that long. So Liam Neeson, great villain. Then obviously you get into the second one, and Heath Ledger is an amazing Joker, and I know I don't have to. I'm preaching to the choir. Basically, everyone agrees that Heath Ledger is an amazing Joker. Now, I know he's sort of not typical traditional Joker, and that's the one real thing that sort of, like with the Dark Knight trilogy, people disagree with the fact that, you know, the way it was done, because it's like nowhere near sort of accurate to the source material. It's like I'm not referring to it as like almost perfect films when it comes to sticking to the source. I'm referring to them as perfect films in their own right, and they are. They've taken, you know, sort of looked at Batman and they've said, okay, how do we want to do this? Okay, we want to make it really dark, because it is, but obviously it's in the limitation of comic books, so let's make it darker and let's change everything up. Let's make everybody lose their minds. But you take DC fans and you just add in a little bit of out there and not canon, and everybody lose their minds. See, I can't do the best Heath Ledger Joker voice. I used to be able to do a much better one. You know what? I don't give a damn. I'm gonna see if I can remember it. Just wet the lips. I'm not gonna, need to go that high. So, do you want to know how I got these scars? Well, you see, my father was a drinker and a fiend, and one night goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. And so, me watching, he takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. Turns to me. Why so serious? Comes at me with a knife. Why so serious? He sticks the blade in my mouth. And why so serious? Okay, yes, I know I quoted that wrong. I was going to put let's put a smile on that face. I was going to put that in there, then I kind of got ahead of myself and forgot. I'm sorry. Thing is, his voice, you can't do his exact voice, but you can get the tone if you just send the message. You can get the oh my god, that would be the best voicemail ever. It's not about the tone. It's about leaving a message. Despite the fact that my phone is going to be like, work and uni stuff as well, I need to change my voicemail to that, so I'm going to do that. But anyway, I've just realised I've got really off track with this. I've also managed to drop Coke on some of the foam. I might flash up a picture of my setup that I'm using to record. Well, you never know, I could see if I could sync up the audio. Let's try that. Let us try that, you know. It'll probably go horrifically wrong, but, you know, that as a syncing method probably isn't the worst thing in the world. Basically what I've done is I've basically got a load of old packaging, like foam, from like aviation grade packaging foam, and I've got like this ridge. Basically it's just for lining the box, so obviously it's hollow in the middle, so that's on the table. Then the microphone's sat on top of like an old woolly cat thing. Then it's got two random bits of like smaller packaging foam wrapped around that, and then I've got like my main sort of sound dampening duct taped to the bottom of the hollow bit, and then on top of that I've got the foam another bit of foam just sat. You probably heard that when I took that off. Oh, you definitely heard it when I put it back, but you know what I mean, right? And then the microphone's just like squatted in there, and then I've got the cable coming through the back of the box. So yeah. Anyway, that was the end of it. I'm hoping that synced up properly. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I was going to go for like just talking about this movie and gushing about it, but okay, now let's get on to the cool stuff, like the really, really cool stuff. Like I've sort of talked about, you know, Christian Bale's Batman voice, and you know, Bane's voice is the same. It's all right. I quite like it. It's unsettling. It's not sort of traditional Bane, and it's not, you know, particularly canon. But you know, when you look at Bane, he's a lot better than the Batman and Robin Bane. Anyway, he was just oh shit, I did not think about that. My bad. I am so terribly sorry about that. I wonder if this vocal booth is any good for whispering into. Probably not. But yeah, you think about the Bane from The Dark Knight Rises was way better than, you know, Batman and Robin Bane. I know it's not that hard, but think about it. He was, you know, he worked out that he was Bruce Wayne. He was smart. He could plan properly. He was strategic. He planned like in months. And he, you know, also was capable of fighting Batman to a standstill. And yeah, you can make the argument, oh, but he should have done it when it was at the top of his form. It's like, did you see how easy that fucking was? Did you see how easy it was? Really? That was so easy. There was no effort he put into that. He didn't, you know what I mean? He didn't put any effort into that at all. Okay, and now on to the really cool stuff. Like, everybody always talks about in the scene, like the hospital scene in The Dark Knight, where the Joker comes out the building and, you know, he presses like the button and he just sort of like fiddles with it and the explosions don't go off, and then he fiddles with it some more and then the explosions do go off and he's like really shocked, and it's like, oh, that was improvisation, the explosives didn't go off. I was like, no, there's no way that's what happened. They didn't. That was always planned from the beginning. You think demolishing a building is something you plan in months. Months and months and months of planning goes in, and then months and months and months of preparation. You're not going to fuck it up. So that was always planned for it to happen like that. A couple of other interesting facts, though. If you want to sort of say, Heath Ledger's acting was amazing and he improv that beautifully, but obviously now you can't say that. I'll tell you what you can say about him, though. There's discarded footage. Well, not discarded, but they just didn't put it in like the final cut of Joker on the bus driving away. Now this, you know, hospital's only going to blow up once, right? He doesn't turn around at all. He's looking the opposite direction, fully in character, not looking anywhere near it. He's not going to sort of look back and watch it and, you know, try and go, wow, that's so cool, like, you know, anybody else would. He's perfectly maintaining character, just kind of apathetic, looking at the front of the bus, doesn't give a shit, right? That's what he's doing. And then other things, like the top 2 rows of windows, I think it was. The top 2 rows of windows weren't there. Didn't exist. I think they'd been stolen or something like that. Like a few weeks before shooting. So they had to CGI the top rows of windows in. So there you go. There's 2 random factoids that are definitely true because, people have fact-checked these. One of which, if you can find the deleted scenes, you can watch yourself. The second one, I don't know how you can. I think you can find pictures of the set before they actually worked on it, so you can see that the top 2 rows of windows or top row of windows didn't exist. Bubbles went straight down my throat. But yeah, no, I wanted to gush a lot more with this podcast, but I think I wasn't really as sort of into it as I normally am. But I really like this podcast. I wanted these things to be very conversational, and I think it has been, because I sort of digressed and come back and digressed and come back, and I've just done that the entire time. I mean, the cinematography's always been great, and I don't know how true this is. This is one I'm not sure how true this fact is. But apparently, in the interview, the interview scene in The Dark Knight, where the Joker says you'll break your own rules or something like that. It's something along those lines, or you just broke your one rule, or you're going to break your one rule. That is timed perfectly with where the camera on the dolly goes directly past Heath Ledger's shoulders, from one side to the other. And apparently Christopher Nolan has this one rule of you never cross over, or it is a general rule that you don't cross over in a dialogue scene. You don't go across the shoulders from one to the other. I don't know why, but apparently that's a rule. I think it's a general rule of thumb. There's no actual real reason for it as far as I'm aware, but apparently so. If I can be bothered, I might record in a little sort of side note thing telling you why that's that way, but I don't think I can be bothered, in all honesty, so you never know. There might be something in the description if not. The one thing I don't really like about the third film, I can not look past, and I think it's because I'm an A-level physics student, is with the fusion reactor. Why is it going to blow up? Why is it? Obviously I don't know the physics, and obviously it's a fusion reactor, so physics are entirely different, but as far as I'm aware, there shouldn't be any sort of actual countdown for just because didn't they say the core would decay or something like that? That sounds a lot like fission to me, and it's not. It specifically said it's a fusion reactor. That's the one thing I can't. They've looked into the science of pretty much everything else, and it kind of works. That's the one thing they haven't really looked into properly, and I never understood that. Anyway, I think the dust in all this foam is getting to my nose. Either that or it's the glue they use to secure it to the boxes. Either way, it stinks, and it's going up my nose and making me feel weird. So, I'm gonna try and wrap up real quick. As I opened, if I were to ever have a conversation about the best movies of all time, or almost perfect movies, the Dark Knight trilogy would probably be almost at the top. There's a few bits in there that I would say aren't perfect and need a bit of improvement, and there's just a couple of little sort of story, 2 or 3 little story elements, and then obviously the voices of Bane and Batman just need a little bit of work here and there, but everything else is perfect. And I would critique, what happened to the Joker, but the thing is, you can't critique that, because the plan originally was to have the Joker come back for The Dark Knight Rises, right? That was always the plan. Then obviously Heath Ledger died, and it was very sad, and it did make his character iconic, and it's one of the reasons we love Heath Ledger's Joker so much. It's because we loved Heath Ledger a lot. If you've never seen 10 Things I Hate About You, you're missing out. It's an amazingly hilarious film. And, Heath Ledger's almost indistinguishable from indistinguishable is the wrong word. You almost can't tell that he's the Joker. It's entirely different characters. Watching him's absolutely great. Method acting is a dangerous business. A lot of people, method actors, do commit suicide if they have an intense, dark, emotionally damaging role like that, because it can get to your head. It will get to your head. So it's one of the reasons we love him so much, is not because he died for his art, but because it was very tragic. It's one of the reasons that he is so well loved. Anyway, Dark Knight Trilogy, one of the best films of all time. That's all I have to say. Nuff said. I know that's the wrong fucking company, but nuff said. Nuff said.